Ever since I started this YouTube channel, I have read through a lot of bullcrap articles to call them out for their inconsistencies and generally just their stupidity that they have in them. And time after time, I find myself reading articles from TheGamer because they are one of the worst gaming news sites out there next to Kotaku. Just to give you an idea of some of the things they have done, they have defended the bullies that were bullying Hogwarts Legacy streamers for playing the game, saying that these streamers deserved it because they knew what they were getting into, and just general woke bullcrap that TheGamer usually pulls. But this article we're going to be reading from today really does take the cake, at least for this month, and it has to do with Resident Evil 5, because apparently Resident Evil 5 is too racist for a remake, despite it being re-released just a few years ago. Now, if you're new to my channel, I usually cut right through the bullcrap here. We usually skip the filler, skip the intro, and get right to the main point of these articles, and it's this right here. Resident Evil 5 is the next logical step. They are talking about remakes, given it's a mostly iterative sequel with many of the same gameplay mechanics and set pieces as Resident Evil 4. It has a mandatory co-op, even if you're playing alone, removing what little horror is left by giving your characters with twice the firepower. Resident Evil 4 influenced Gears of War, and in turn, Resident Evil 5 looked at Gears of War and decided it needed a slice of that grey, edgy, and bloated pie. It's not a bad game, but I'd struggle to describe it as anything more than a pale imitation. I have never once, when playing Resident Evil 5, looked at this game and thought, oh gee golly god, this looks like a cheap knockoff of Gears of War. Because it doesn't. What similarities does this actually have with Gears of War? I don't know. I don't know. I skimmed through this article before. I will tell you guys that about, before I did this video here. And I honestly sat down thinking about this. What similarities that this game had with Gears of War. And I could think of nothing up. And it makes me believe that this writer never even played this game, which wouldn't really be surprising for writers at TheGamer, especially with some of the stuff they say later on. But this is when things get good here. This very last sentence here. The game's legacy is also internally tainted by its racism. Intentional or not, it's there. Now, if you guys can't remember here, there was a controversy when this game first came out about this game being racist because you were killing black people infected with the offshoot of the T-virus, because this game was set in Africa. So of course, back in 2009, back in the early 2000s, when the media outlets were all about painting the picture that video games were the devil incarnate, they went ahead and they were saying that this game was racist for doing this, because we are playing a white man, Chris Redfield, going into these African villages, killing these people infected with the offshoot of the T-virus. I can't exactly remember the name of it. That is why I'm saying an offshoot of it. But most people knew exactly what this was. It was just the regular bullcrap that the mainstream media pulled back then when it came to video games. I was still in primary school when Resident Evil 5 was first unveiled, so my understanding of racism and the historical role it plays in global socio-political culture was fairly lacking. So I would have been in primary school too. I believe 2009 it came out, I would have been around 10 years old. So yeah, I just wanted to get that out there. So I'm probably around the same age as the writer here. I just wanted to murder zombies with my friends. It didn't matter what color they were or what country I happened to be in. The infection must be cleansed. And not putting my upgraded shotgun in use would be a tragic race. But even back then, there was something uneasy about how the game depicted Africa, and the African American eager to focus on a white man waltzing into an impoverished town only to murder its inhabitants. This last section here, it really kind of irks me a bit, all right? So a lot of these writers here, they'll talk about things they experienced when they were kids. And all the time, they do the exact same thing. And it's that they try to make themselves sound smarter than they actually are when they were kids. This right here is saying, well, you know, even when I was a kid, when I was in primary school, I knew that there was something racist about this. But that isn't the case. I can almost guarantee you that never happened at all. Because kids are stupid. I would be around the same age as this writer. I believe I mentioned that before. And when I played this game, I never even thought about that. I never even thought about the color of the skin of the people I was killing, of the people infected with this offshoot of the T-virus. because kids just don't think like that. In fact, it wouldn't be until years later when I actually heard about this controversy going down what I realized what actually happened. And of course, my thoughts back then were the exact same thoughts I have today about it. And it's, well, that's fucking stupid. Excuse my French. The reveal trailer dropped in 2005 has deliberately, holy crap, 1 second here, has deliberately vague descriptions of where it takes place or what the game is even about. Chris Redfield is back this time, without his bulging muscles, and is seen walking the quiet streets of a shanty town until an unseen horde of infected rushes his position. A gun is drawn before a Biohazard 5 logo splashes onto their screen. At first glance, this trailer is pretty innocent, and early on enough in the game's production that I'm unsure if certain location and characters were even decided yet. The E3 2007 showing wasn't nearly as lucky, with the preview of the game's opening, which, without the presence of your partner Shiva, boils down to a hench right dude beating the shit out of hostile African natives. This here, one of the reasons why I do not think these writers over at TheGamer have any clue what they're talking about. They don't research anything they post, because I watched this trailer they linked here, the E3 showing of 2007 of this game, where apparently Chris Redfield is beating down a bunch of hostile African natives. But that isn't the case. There's no natives in this. It's African people that he's beating. And even still, it completely shows that these people are infected. There was a scene there where you get the classic, when they're infecting the white woman, which I'm surprised he didn't mention anything about that. One of the only white women in this game is infected by all these black people. You would think if someone was going to scream racism about anything, it would be about that. But nonetheless, it's the scene that shows the white woman getting infected, and then it has the one after the you encounter the first infected, and you look up at the ceiling and his eyes go like all bloodshot and that, and then it shows him beating up a bunch of these people. Now, this is one of the reasons why I don't think that these people know anything they're talking about. Like, I don't even think that he watched the trailer. Maybe he was just going off of memory, but this should show the integrity, I think the word is integrity, that these writers over at TheGamer actually have. You would think they would care enough about their articles to actually research them before they posted them. This caused backlash at the time, with a hasty addition of a mixed-race co-op partner, making it seem like Capcom was trying its best to save pace and pave over its unfortunate positioning. You could argue that a game set in Africa is of course going to result in people of color being infected, which is a valid point. That view falls away the moment Chris and Shiva venture into the shoplands and are immediately assaulted by natives donning bomber scoots, whose main mode of combat is throwing homemade spears while screaming in a dialect that feels ripped straight out of an insensitive 30s cartoon. It's difficult to defend, especially awkward to revisit all these years later. It's not really difficult to defend. If you played this game, if you understand the lore, you would get it 100%. These natives were guarding the, I think it was called the progenitor flower, you know, the thing that made the T-virus. It was an ancient flower, and these natives were also infected. It would make sense that a civilization that is that old would actually be defending a flower that is that old, a flower that has cultural significance in their, I guess you can say, culture there. But you know what? Even if we wanted to look at this, right? I am willing to give this to this writer here. All right, if you really wanted to look at it like that, sure, whatever. You might see some racism in it, but everything else is complete and utter bullshit. If this game was set in Africa and it didn't feature any black people at all that is infected by this person would be complaining about the exact same thing, because that is what these people do. They find stuff to bitch about. They find stuff that they scream racism about because they have nothing better to do with their lives. I'm not saying a potential remake of Resident Evil 5 needs to buy into Africa entirely, only that major revisions are required for it to stand the test of time. Right. So you want a remake of Resident Evil 5 that isn't really going to be Resident Evil 5? This is what's wrong with the gaming industry. The fourth is campy and far removed from the reality in ways that allow it to lean into charming eccentricity, while Resi 5 is far more grounded, realistic, and oddly graphic in its visual execution. Is this dude forgetting the part when Chris Redfield went ahead and punched a boulder in her lava? he definitely must be, or he's either thinking of another game. Everything feels a bit hopeless, even as you venture underground to pilfer ancient ruins for treasures. Stereotypes are reinforced with increased examples of vulgarity as a campaign tries to inject some manner of verity into its generic fights. Now, this is another thing here. These people are, I said enough about the writers of TheGamer, right? But they always try to deceive people. They expect people who read the articles to know nothing about the game. And this is it's another perfect example of it. It's right here. As you venture to pilfer ancient ruins for treasures, it makes it seem that this is like the main concept, the main core of this game. You're going into them to pilfer the treasures, which it isn't. It's something on the side that you can do. Anyways, that's just, I have a lot of problems with this article, but let's just continue on here, and I might go on a bit of a rant at the end of it. I do not know. It's bleak and requires a far more extensive reimagine or even a full rewrite if it hopes to cause an offense and abandon its prior baggage. It's not impossible, though. Perhaps Resident Evil 4's success will be a sign for Capcom to broach upon a new timeline, so it doesn't remake every game in existence before I have no idea where to go next. Take risks and reap their ample rewards years down the line. After 5 comes 6, and trust me, nobody wants it. So nobody really does want Resident Evil 6. Right? Resident Evil 6, that was a very bad game. I will agree on that. But the thing is, people want Resident Evil 5. This controversy never stopped Resident Evil 5 from selling. Because when Resident Evil 5 first came out, it went ahead, to date, I will say, after Resident Evil 5 came out, it has sold 8.6 million copies. All right? It is the third highest selling Resident Evil game there is. And then, when they re-released this for the PS5 and the Xbox One, because obviously nobody wanted this game because they were so concerned about the racism in it, it went ahead and sold another 4 million copies. But nobody wants this game, right? Because it's racist, because racism is bad. This person doesn't want a Resident Evil 5 remake because they got offended by it. Instead, they want an entirely different game and they just want to slap the Resident Evil 5 title on it. But this is a perfect example of wokeness in gaming, of wokeness in the video game industry. Because this game, even though it is set in Africa, that, surprisingly or not, has a large majority of black people, cannot feature black people infected by the offshoot of the T virus if it means that you have to kill them. Because otherwise, that would be racist. This whole thing is ridiculous. I wonder what's next. Are they going to complain about Resident Evil 6 because it's set in China and there's a whole section where a bunch of Chinese people get infected? Are they going to do that? That would not surprise me at all with these people over at TheGamer, because frankly, they are all artards, especially this Jade King. But hey, even I need to dumb myself down sometimes, so I always love to head over to TheGamer. But what do you guys think about all this? Do you think that it's stupid? Do you agree with it? Do you think Resident Evil 5 should get remade? Do you think it shouldn't get remade? Let me know in the comments below. And if you're stuck around this long, want to hit that like and subscribe button because it would really help a fella out. Hope all you guys have an amazing, wonderful day, and I will see you in the next video. Peace out.